All right, got the bug back in the shack. Look at this.
What you got there?
What do you think it is? Oh, it's my laundry. We'd like to thank our anonymous donor, Anonymous Dave, I think we'll call him.
Aw.
I guess he works somewhere where they use a lot of this material, and this was going in the trash, so nobody knows nothing except we got bags and bags and rolls of the good fiberglass mat.
Well, what is it? Somebody else's trash is another one's treasure.
Yeah, see, these are all remnants. These are all leftovers, and I guess when you're making airplanes or spaceships, you can't use shapes like this. So look at this ding in the roof.
What's that from?
That's when Johnny Jalopy and I were making a quick move at joining this. See, we widened the back of this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, we widened the front of it, and there's this dip in here. So we're going to do a bunch of glass work. But first is this stuff with the engine. Got this. Tried to use it on another project. Center mount fan shroud. And I think it's going to make it to this one.
That's exciting.
Another local friend had this, the proper stand for the generator. Heck yes. The engine, you could see, was the big square shroud, and the alternator generator was offset, so this pretties it up quite a bit, just for symmetry's sake. Isn't that nice?
Very nice.
I got some other parts, and I got a plan for this roof. But before we even get into that, I got a hunger. We gotta have a lunch break. Coming out of this sickness, feeling a lot better. I gotta keep my energy up. This is gonna be a good one. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Factor. This is what I'm talking about. It's exactly what I need. I try to avoid fast food at all costs. I've been on a health kick the past year and a half, and I'm feeling better than I have in a long time. She introduced me to this Factor meal plan, and it's super cool. We live so rural, and this Factor is delivered here to our house. Factor meals are designed by chefs and or dietitians, so not only are they delicious, but they're also nutritious. You can choose from 34 plus weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never frozen meals. Go to factor75.com or click on the link below and use the code FULLCUSTOMIAN50 for 50% off your first box. The main thing that was a surprise to me was how many different meals are offered, and I gotta say right now, I am going with the green pepper and beef casserole. Go to factor75.com, click on the link below, and use the code FULLCUSTOMIAN50 to get 50% off your first box. That was just what I needed. I'm invigorated. Check this out. Dual carbs. Let's talk about the symmetry, right? Instead of the single carb and the offset generator, now you got, these are iconic for Volkswagens. You got the big high-rise manifolds. This is a pretty built engine, although albeit it's seized up. So I think we're gonna mock all this stuff up. That way if I get any drips of fiberglass, etc., anything goes down the holes, it ain't no problem. It's all getting rebuilt. Just want to keep the new parts clean. I'll put some plastic over that.
I learned something new about you.
Yes.
I learned that you are kind of a fiend for exhausts.
Yes.
I learned that from watching one of your latest, newest episodes on your other job. And we were joking about that because we were watching some of the episodes already. And I never knew that you
Have
loved
an
it.
exhaust fetish. Well, back when I was 15 years old, you could look through the Volkswagen catalog and they had like every different shape exhaust, you know,
Yeah.
for buggies or trikes or Baja bugs, where the engine was exposed like this. So,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to have a groovy exhaust, no doubt. And you see some of the other ones I've built. That's because, okay, well, once you see all the stuff in the catalog, how do you stand out, right?
All right. Well, the one on the episode that we're talking about that will be on television this week, that's where I kind of learned that about you. So seeing that exhaust,
Hmm.
now I'm very excited to see this exhaust and learn a different side of my husband that I've yet to know about you.
Oh, I've got other secrets. You have no idea. With the carburetors, there's only so many choices. I mean, you can go buck wild and create this exotic turbo system and the whole deal, but it's like, well, does it work type of thing. So the exhaust, the ones that I've made aren't like tuned for optimal performance, but they look cool because
They're
that's,
more of like a sculpture.
yeah, and that's really the deal with these carburetors is I love the look of the VW with the big tall manifolds on each side. It's very symmetrical. See if I'm putting these on right. One goes there. One goes there. I got the whole rebuild kit and everything for these. These are just cleaned out, waiting to go. Right, so look at that. All of a sudden, it's just like this big. I mean, we're talking. I mean, what's 100 horsepower? I mean, massive.
Really?
I say that jokingly.
Oh, okay. It's like, what?
Because the Chevy V8 will just blow this thing away. I mean, for the way that I handle these engines. But look, isn't that quite the presentation?
It's so cool.
Then with a bunch of other stuff, you know, exhaust coming off, etc. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with the back end of this. You know, I got a little mock-up going with the fenders, but I really want to address this roof. And it's all going to be fiberglass. I'm going to build it so I can take it on and off as I continue to work on the metal inside. But with this big divot here, you know, with fiberglass, there is no heated up, hammered into shape. So you can only fill this. This kit body is fairly flexible. It's pretty thin. And I think that's what happened. Maybe this was on a stand, and as it cured up, it just cured crooked. It's rushing for you. So I'm kind of digging how it dipped here. Because as you chop the top, it's meant to get wider. So all Johnny and I did, because we didn't know what was going on back here yet with the other project, so we just stretched it out, and it kind of put a divot here.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, I don't really mind that. Victor did an Auburn Boattail Speedster where he put a crease right down the center.
Yeah, that thing's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
It's on our video of Victor's shop if you're interested.
So I'm going to go with this. I may mellow out these two bulges here, but what I want to address right now is the center. You know those old Bugattis? Remember I showed you a picture of that?
I think so.
So there was one, and it had not
Oh,
a,
yeah. Sorry.
there
I
was one,
remember.
not a Mohawk, like Johnny Jalopy and I built that crazy aluminum Mohawk on the bubble top.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely want to give a little of that love to this project, but more in the Bugatti style, just a simple kind of center ridge divider thing that will kind of focus some attention down into the symmetrical engine, right? So you have a center line.
I'm here for it.
That's a mouthful. So the way I'm going to go about that is with this bag of fiberglass and a couple pieces of PVC tubing.
You went to the hardware store today.
I went to Carl's Hardware and I was like, hey, I got to build a hot rod Volkswagen. And they're like, say nothing more. Say no more. Pointing me in the direction of this plumbing supply aisle. So I squeezed down the front of that in the brake. This stuff is reasonably formable too. I'll show you how we're going to treat it because it is rigid, but it will kink if you try to bend it. And we're going to try to shape it. So I'm going to do that with a heat gun and a little bit of gravity. Again, we want the center, right? We want from the center of this generator right to the center of the windshield. How do I know where the center of the windshield is? Without measuring, how would you?
I guess I would just guess. I don't know.
Or with the Volkswagen, you would look where the little squirter device is for
Oh,
the windshield
yes,
wiper
that's
washer thing.
right. I knew you'd have the answer.
So I'm going to stand up top and look straight down at that. Set up a little pre-drill in this. Now looking right down on it. Yep, it looks pretty much like the middle to me. All right. Now this is where the fun starts. I said we're going to use the heat gun and a little gravity. See where this is going? You know how I use the torch and heat up the metal until it flexes?
Mm-hmm.
And use the heat gun, start working on that piece of PVC until it falls into position. I'm going to put a couple more screws in it, and the back's going to be the creative part. This is your regular heat gun you get at any hardware store, so it might take a little bit, but the results will be very satisfying. Told you, it might take a little while. Because I don't want to use a flame or anything so hot that it burns the outside of it. So this is just like a slow simmer. Look, it's going down. What do you think about that? Let that cool off. I'll put another screw right there. So see in the center where that dent is? I'm going to let this dictate what's going on there with the height. It's going to pull it through nice and taut and let this be the actual gauge of where it's at height-wise. It's got a little zig and a little zag. It was on the rack in the hardware store. Oh, there it is right there. So now I'm going to heat it up and do the same thing back here. I want this to come down and kind of touch that or close to it. I'm just going to guesstimate. Look, here it goes. It's the temperature and it just starts to move. Could you be a doll and grab that blob of white stuff right there on the table?
Blob of white stuff coming up, doctor. Blob of white stuff.
Thank you. It's a little cool, so setting it on the table will warm it up a little bit. Stuff works good for a number of things with mold making, etc. But it's going to use it kind of as a sticker right here. Take it, stick it right there. Hey, nobody says a perfect world. Temporary fix. So looking down the lane, there's a little bit of a wiggle right here. But this won't be presented in the final piece at all. This is simply a riser for the fiberglass mat. So I think as it sits, is good enough to get a start on the fiberglass. Just looking at it, you can see the gap between the dent. See this air gap here?
Mm-hmm.
So that's showing a nice curve across the top. And that's really what I was trying to get away from, this big dent in here. So I'm going to lay up some mat in the center and just keep working it. I pre-cut a bunch of that stuff, so all I'm going to do is lay this on top. I'm going to leave that screw showing.
Oh,
Like popped off. Probably because it's cooling. Starting to change shape a little bit. If you get some fiberglass on there, that won't be popping off. I'm going to mix up a quick batch of the resin that you use with this fiberglass. I'm mixing it up pretty darn hot so it just catalyzes fast. This is an older leftover piece, so I'm just using it more like I would use a tack weld per se. The nice stuff is still on the way. Got 2 other gallons from the local supply, but got some good news about fiberglass and accessories coming, hopefully. We'll get into that in the next few episodes, but it's a good start. Yeah, I really set this off hot, so it's going to dry or cure right up.
So what are some tips and tricks about fiberglassing?
Don't ask me. I'm the worst fiberglass guy around. True story. Ask the pros. All I know is I'm able to get results. I've had guys just get on me. That's not how you do fiberglass.
Ah,
Well, I built a bunch of cars, and even that funky Futura, that's not cracking.
no.
It drives that all over the place.
In case anyone hears weird audio, we are getting rain in the desert. Welcome to winter, guys.
All right, that went off really fast, so let that just stick in place. Didn't quite get all the soaking I needed to, but it'll hold. The idea is just to keep that thing in place for the moment. And that will do the job. You might be looking at this right now and saying, wow, that was a lot of catalyst. Yes, it is. But it's because I'm moving through this tacking up procedure fast. The majority of this excess resin will get sanded right off in the next step. So, like I said, I'm just trying to use this material up because it's old and I don't really want to laminate a bunch of strength things with this old material. So, just trying to set some things in place. And we'll get into the new material next. So what's going to happen back here is pretty cool. It's actually the highlight of the show today. But because fiberglass takes time, I'm going to be able to do some things and then wait. I was going to dump out the rest of this to give this a good soak where we missed it. And I also feel like just brushing on around the area you're going to work acts sort of like as a primer, not necessarily a tack coat, but I sanded it with 36 grit. So this is going to move into all those little 36 grit scratches. We'll have a fresh layer to laminate to. It's like more live, I guess, than the dried out fiberglass from a year ago. Because I just took the big sanding disc and cut down this whole surface. Take off whatever, I don't know if it's oxidation or what, but it's definitely a different color having sat out all year. And just get some nice active resin on the surface. All right, cool. We're going to let that set, and I'm going to talk about what I did with the heat gun prior to Jamie walking in with the camera. So check this out. You see me make hoops out of steel with the torch, etc. So what I did, I took the heat gun and I soaked the same piece of PVC. I put it in here and I just twisted it and held it. It was kind of a shot in the dark. I don't really want to do it again because it worked this time. So what we got is a nice little ring.
What is the ring for?
Ah, see, that was that eyeball. Look here, the corner of the car, the front 3/4 view. Now, I want to keep this weird, right? So I love how this is kind of going down. It's disappearing over this ridge. And I was thinking, like with Johnny Jalopy and I created that mohawk, and he drew in these circular holes through it. I was like, well, I don't want that, but what if I had like one little tab with like one little blip with something in there? See where I'm going with that? Like, what if that sat right about there? And I cut off the bottom of that to really sink it in. And this kind of came up like that. So it's like a little bit of a, almost like the 53 Cadillacs with that little raise above the taillight. Like, what if it had a feature a bit like that? I said, what if it had a feature just like that?
I love it.
Wouldn't that be exciting? How's that fiberglass working for you?
Oh,
Feel good?
I'm feeling a little
You look a little red in the cheeks. I'm thinking, what if I split this right about here? No sparks with plastic. Pretty cool, huh? See how that fits on. Pretty cool. Yeah, what if we trapped that with a little piece of fiberglass? And then we worked on like the little bit of a contour there.
I see where you're going now.
I think everybody's seeing it.
So it won't actually be a hole. It's just the.
Oh no, it'll be a hole. Remember auto body piercings?
Oh God.
It won't be an auto body piercing. Don't worry about that.
Oh Lord.
I worked on some pretty big budget TV show car projects where they were just simply movie props. And we did a lot of work with not only PVC, but I mean, not only PVC tubes, but PVC sheet. And we would heat things and use the fast, like crazy glue with the catalyst. And we would build entire panels. And I was like, this is incredible. And glass right over it, super fast. So that's kind of where I got the idea of using these plumbing tubes to create some shapes.
That's cool.
You know what the downside of that was?
What?
When they put the cars in the spray booth
Mm-hmm.
to bake them after they sprayed them,
Oh no, it melted.
it changed shape. We were shaving the door handles with little pieces of plastic, and little bubbles would pop out, and everything would kind of like, because the booth would get up to pretty hot. So the story of modeling clay is pretty cool. You know where I got it?
Where did you get it from?
When Victor and I were building that Porsche, the supercar, sports car thing.
Oh, that everyone hated that watches Banijay and they hate it.
Well, a lot of different people critique it. But I created that whole car body, mocking things up out of all different uh, arrangements of cardboard and etc. And the modeling clay was a huge part of that when I built the mold.
That's
so I got
cool.
a huge box of this stuff.
I was wondering, I have seen it in our storage space,
Yep.
and I was wondering where that was from. That's cool.
There's still pieces of the supercar stuck in it.
And that was a neat car. I was just saying that we've
Oh, that's another one. It runs great. No failure on any of the
some of the comments.
fiberglass or anything. So poo-poo. This stuff, you just get it warm and it lasts forever. You kind of clean it as you're kneading it like dough, and it's back in service. Again, I'm going to use this as like a little sticker. So what I'm looking at is this angle here. I want to follow that relatively closely. Maybe around there. I'm just going to put it on here and take a look. This is one of the coolest things about sculpting in general is it's a balancing act until everything falls down. But that's the cool thing, like working with steel, you see me always looking for clamps, for something. But when you're just purely sculpting with plastic in this case, you do whatever it takes to hold that material in place. You can't tack weld it with a welder. So have a little dip in there. Yeah, it's still a little bit over. So this is really weird right now. Nobody's getting this, but I'm seeing something. Bear with me. The end result is really where it shines. All right, I'm going to mix up another lop of fiberglass and try to stick that in place a little bit. I just shredded this up into almost nothing. Just a bunch of remnants. Just going to stir it all together and make like a little slurry. What I'm doing is breaking it out of the weave. See how it's just turned into like a fuzz? I'm unweaving it. So just like the modeling clay is a big sticker, this is going to be a sticker that hardens. We'll let that set. Take a look. I actually feel like I want this up further. I want it up there.
Yes, I think that feels better.
This angle will get changed, but I like
Because
that.
now I see like the line. I think I'm envisioning the line that you're talking about. And when it was down there, it just kind of looked like a little pigtail.
I also don't want it to be way.
Yeah, you want that more flush with the car. I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's much better. I think all of us are breathing a collective sigh of relief.
You know what the beauty is?
What?
I can come back in 2 hours, just cut that off.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this is just to look at. This is literally the same procedure as tack welding something, but we don't have a welder. Gonna put a bunch of goo in there, wait till it dries, and see how I feel about it. And again, the fiberglass doesn't bond perfectly to this PVC. This is more of an armature. It holds the fiberglass in place while it's curing.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about Gene, and I'm thinking about Big Daddy Roth and George Barris and all the folks that have made cars like this. Is this what they would do?
Roth especially, he primarily sculpted it out of plaster,
Yeah.
but same process. Once you have your shape and you're adding or subtracting, it's
And
a
like
lot like this.
Gene, some of his movie cars, right? They're fiberglass.
I'm sure. I mean, he was making the fiberglass Merc bodies and a bunch of other stuff too. Because fiberglass was the material of the future. Here we are in the future. Yeah, these guys in 1955, they probably could not imagine 2023. Some clown like myself taking their lead. What a trip. Further bring up Mr. Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite quote ever. Big mess, big success.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, making a mess. So, however, Jamie chooses to edit this, right now we're at a standstill. That's got to cure. After this sort of sets, I'm going to get into framing out the rear of this because I want it to look like, jewelry in a jewel box, right? So the engine is actually sort of fit into the body. So we're going to work on maybe trimming this out and creating this panel around here. But
So this is where you were all night.
trying to heat up this tube and it's cold out. It's been a while. Remember yesterday when I said I didn't want to try to do that loop thing again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we are about to do the loop thing.
What
got-
happened?
Huh?
What happened?
I'll explain in a second. I got this to where it's very flexible now. So, put it on this little jig and pull a hoop. Hopefully. If it's not perfectly heated, then it might kink, but we're going to try. Ready? So that's how I made that other loop. Lock it up here and let it cool down. So if you look at that one, it's got a teardrop shape, similar to what I'm creating here. You can see how I'm only able to pull around this die to a certain point. You'll see the pinch there where I'm actually grabbing it with my hand on this piece. But I want a full circle opening in that. So I'm going to piece it together with the other half that I'm creating here.
Ah, so you're gonna take the two, put them together.
And while this is cooling off, we're going to do the, just a term I coined, the Flacido Domingo effect.
The Flacido Domingo?
Yes, I think that's what we'll call it.
What are you talking about?
Emphasis on flaccid. Watch. We will wilt the PVC pipe into position.
I swear, I'm like 12 years old. I like laughed.
That's me. All right, it's starting to cool down. See if it holds its shape. Sure do. I'm going to cut this, and then we're going to work on this piece. So I'm going to keep this nice and bound up. All it cools. Pretty much there. Sometimes if this is not held like this, it'll fall back out of shape. Put some tape on it just while it goes through its whole process. Now, to the event we've all been waiting for. Hmm. Hmm. So, what I need here is a nice graceful curve. See that? But I don't want a straight shot. I want a little bit of action in it. A little bit of the lilt just described. So I'm going to do that by weighting one end of it and heating it up. That's what I was looking for. I don't want to hold the hot PVC with my hand. You see I got some weight on the end, and as soon as it starts to warm up, it'll start to move. You can start to smell it. I've learned that with the bubble tops too. Once it reaches a certain degree, it starts to kind of gas out. And that's when you know it's like just ballpark without using even a thermometer.
That's how I cook. I can smell it. Like when it's like done, when it's a certain thing. That's why I'm such a good cook. I do use thermometers, but
Won't argue your point there.
that's how I cook.
Yeah, so see, now we're starting to get a nice curve put in there. You don't want to over amp it because it'll probably just kink and fall down. But I bet take these two, put a little action on it. Yeah, look at that.
It's so weird to be doing a YouTube video of you not using metal because I usually do so much sound editing and it's going to be weird to edit this one.
I know the heat gun is the loudest noise we have.
It's so like calm and peaceful. I'm going to put some peaceful music in the video.
So yeah, we're pretty much there. See if we like that curve. Yes, I do. Take a marker, mark that. So in the same way, I'll put together so many steel pieces. Make my little trim action right there at about that shape. And then this one's going to be a long trim out like that. This stuff is so soft, I'll just put it on the big belt sander here. I'll just run it right in. I like that. We need a lot more out of there. A wee bit more. I'm going to take the fiberglass off here. That way this thing can set in. So I don't want to raise this up a heck of a lot, so I'm going to cut this back.
We have a new favorite YouTuber. The rat rods in Africa, from Africa.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
So we're watching me, so naturally my first thing went to me on YouTube, but Yeah, rat rods for Africa.
Oh my gosh, hilarious.
Super cool.
The shoeless guy,
But
so
straight
funny.
knowledge, straight grassroots fabricating, doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
a
props.
lot of people had told us to check them out, and we did, and it was well worth it.
They're building like a little Renault, I
A
think.
Renault, yeah,
Yeah, little yellow car.
and just
Putting on a
oh my
bug
god,
chassis. Super
so
cool.
good.
Yeah, just quite literally two dudes making it happen. Super cool.
It was just I don't know. For me, it was very entertaining. I had a bit of a hard time understanding some of the words that they were using. But you knew what they were doing with building the car because you understand car building.
Oh, and they would go through the same struggles as us when they were cutting out the center of this body
Yeah,
to fit the VW pan. I'm just like, yeah, like you guys know what you're up to. It's
yeah.
cool.
It was so good. So
I'm gonna put a little screw in here just to make sure. And put a little screw in there just to make sure. Might even rivet it. What the heck? Let's live a little. Or that. It's already half used. That's why it doesn't fit. How's that end on
no
it?
wonder why your shop is such a mess. All you do is throw
I'm
stuff.
a passionate fabricator. Get this out of my way. I have work to do.
Yeah. You're like, I need to do some housekeeping. Like, no
Wow.
wonder.
Should have seen my bedroom as a kid.
I bet. Oh my God.
Between the guinea pigs, the rabbits, the fish tank.
Oh, I can smell it from here.
Here,
Okay.
heck yeah. Because this is going to get buried in the fiberglass and everything. This isn't like something that comes out. So I want this to be, you can push on it while you're sanding instead of it just like cracking apart. That's the whole deal with what I'm riveting it for. All right, that's locked in. Dress this up a little bit with the hand sander. And now for this insert, I don't think I'm going to put rivets in this because I'm going to just set this in and kind of just schmuck it in place with some body filler just to hold it and then glass around it. So same story as that. We're going to compare it like this. Make it look like we have a circle.
Ah.
And then I'm going to mark it. It's going to go like that. And that's going to go like that. With this little piece, I'm going to use the cutoff disc. And also, what kind of mad scientist keeps a tidy workshop? I mean, just as a creature's about to come to life, and it's like, how can a grand catastrophe occur if you're all that put together?
I mean, you should see my office. Have you seen my desk?
Not recently.
It's crazy. It's a pile of messy
Hmm.
thoughts in there. So,
Exactly. Welcome to my pile of messy thoughts. Little progress on the Jeep, though, but that's coming up next.
ooh, I'm very excited.
All that bending and fussing for that little piece. Ooh. See what I'm doing
Look
here?
at you making circles and stuff.
Perfect circle. I'm going to hit that on the sander real quick. Lop it into place. I'm going to mix up a quick batch of body filler just to kind of glue it in place. That'll get sanded back and glassed over, but again, it's more like a tack weld. That's what I'm trying to do here. This looks super rough because it is, but it's basically an armature that I'm starting to work on. See, I went and I cut this out so that I can get a little bit better of a contour. It doesn't look like a hard edge. It just kind of comes down to over the engine. So I got some stainless steel TIG wire, got some aluminum tape, and just a few pieces of fiberglass because it's all just super loose and flexible and even falling down in places. But that's kind of the game with things like this that catalyze and don't just like cool off and like a weld would do. So yeah, mix up a little glue here, then I'll explain how I'm starting to work on the that big divot that was in the roof with some filler. All right, as the great painter once said, titanium white. It's the base of titanium white. It's the best thing to start with.
Titanium, good old titanium white.
Now we're going to put in these happy little PVC parts. We're going to start the process. Just think while you're doing this. Perfect day. You're out in the desert, creating something ridiculous for the world to watch. It's just a peaceful place. Wish I had more Bob Ross quotes, but as far as I go. All right, so that will glue. Then we can sand it back. I don't knock it off before all that happens. So yeah, body filler is not strong enough to hold this to the end. This is just a tack. We'll go in and sand this. I'm going to fiberglass over the whole thing. That low spot I talked about yesterday, just starting to work that up. I don't like to put on one big glob of filler. This is just sort of a surfacing test, I guess. I'm going to set up a longboard and just kind of skate across here just to see where it needs to be filled. Then I'm going to cut back through here, and I have a reinforced fiberglass filler that's coming in the mail. So I just had this filler here, so it's sort of like a guide coat, if you will, just something to come up off the surface a little bit and just see how this area and this area interact. I can put a rod across here just as an example. And with the camera, you can probably get fairly low. You know, we're looking for light underneath this steel rod. So see it right there. So as you come to the edge, that's exactly where we need to be. When you start moving in, that's what the long block sanding will accomplish. I might be up a little bit here with the filler, so if I knock this down, that'll decrease that gap. But look when you come even closer in towards the roof. Now we're coming up on a pretty big fill. And again, because it's fiberglass, that's all we could do is fill it. You can't really bend this stuff. So right through here, you can see the puddle I'm going to have to create with the reinforced filler. Whereas on the other side, it's not as dramatic. See where the glass is here? That's all good. And there's a little dip right through here. And we come out to the edge, we're right where we need to be. So yeah, it's going to need quite a bit of filler through the center of the roof, but it's not a steel car, it's a fiberglass car. There ain't no other way to do it. So fiberglass roof, fenders, etc. So yeah, now it's cool out today, so I gotta let this cure up. We'll get back to this rear. This is gonna be pretty exciting. In the way that you see, I cover the engine with plastic, so the body is sort of a bottom perimeter, this bar here. The body's gonna curve down, and I don't know. I'm thinking about windows in here. I got two things on order that may or may not fly. We'll see, but you know, the idea is this kind of cool back end that just rakes down. Somebody brought up, what's that Bugatti? The Aero something?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking about this Bugatti from the start. I didn't know what it was, but it just has like a delicate
Beautiful, yeah.
little center join. And the back of it, really, it has like a little thing, and then there's like a circular trunk area. So it's not a mimic of that, but it's got split windows on each side of that, and then this little detail. Call me a designer, call me a copycat. All of the above are correct. So we'll be back. soon as this fiberglass cures, it's going to be awesome.